Welcome to the Fellowmind solution video about Fellowmining. My name is Martijn van den Heuvel. I'm a business consultant.
My name is Ruud Schiepens, pre-sales consultant.
Ruud, Fellowmining, tell us about it.
Yes, Fellowmining. Fellowmining is a process mining solution in which you're going to analyze your business processes based on all kinds of smart algorithms and find out where bottlenecks, challenges, shortcuts are taken by employees. So you can start assessing how efficiently your processes are actually set up.
Yes, that sounds good, because setting up is of course one thing, but then eventually you have to do it all together. But things sometimes go wrong, and that's when Fellowmining comes in. Yes, exactly.
What you actually see is that processes are set up and agreements are made, but you don't really have a picture of how those processes actually work. Are they actually carried out in that way by the people? And there are no activities in which people do the same thing 3, 4, 5 times, or maybe even more often. Or are there activities taking place in processes that people are perhaps not allowed to do, so that there is also a piece of security there that is just not set up properly? Do people take shortcuts? Is there inefficiency? Well, all those kinds of things just take place in processes, and sometimes there are suspicions, but what you actually want is a tool that evaluates that objectively and that presents it objectively and analyzes that for you, and that is going to give some context.
Yeah, clearly. And then how does Fellowmining work, or how does Fellowmining help identify the bottlenecks and the problems in the processes?
Yes, well, what it actually does is it analyzes your processes on the basis of all kinds of data and logging that we have already taken care of at the front end, process mining and Fellowmining in particular. It offers a tool, a dashboard, in which you can very quickly and easily map your processes and see where the bottlenecks are and how many activities there are in certain processes, and where something might not be going well, or yes, or is going well. That is, of course, also nice to know.
And do you have to draw out your processes yourself and then put them in, or does Fellowmining actually determine how the process is put together and provide a representation of it?
Yes, actually the latter, because there is actually that whole mining process now that takes a lot of time for companies to do that. So that is perhaps the most complex, because you need both process knowledge and data knowledge. So in this case, Dynamics 365 knowledge is needed to do that whole analysis. Well, we've already done that part, so you don't need expensive data scientists to facilitate all that. So we give it, well, I don't want to say entirely on a silver platter, but it does take very little effort, and you can already start doing your analyses, and you can already get that insight, and you're not first busy collecting all that data and recording those loggings. So we've already done that on the front end, so you can actually start assessing your processes immediately, and yes, start optimizing them.
Yes, so then you have those expensive people who are needed. You can actually keep a bit more grip on the costs on the one hand, and on the other hand, perhaps also on the speed in which you want to implement changes. Yes, definitely. Then you can see that right away yourself. Yes, nice.
And what you actually also have is that you don't need external people for that, so we can bring your own key user up to speed in a fairly short time with a couple of training sessions, and you can get to work with that. So yes, very much.
Yes, great. And what do you need to get started with that? Do you need to have certain applications, certain setups, some licenses for one thing or another?
Yes, well, it is built on Dynamics. We have facilitated all kinds of data and logging, and these also give insight into the processes that are active in the loop. So it is really Dynamics data.
And any specific industries? Or is it for anyone who uses Dynamics 365? They can use this to analyze their business processes?
Yes, the latter, actually. Anyone who uses this data, and yes, regardless of the industry you're in, you can just analyze those processes. So that doesn't matter what type of company you are.
Yes, well, that sounds very good. I'm very curious, actually. Can you show some of it as well? Yeah, sure.
Shall we have a look? Please, yes. When we log into our Fellowmining solution, you get to the welcome screen, and the welcome screen actually immediately gives information about what process has been analyzed. So in this case, the procurement process, and over what period of time the data has been analyzed. In addition, it also gives a simple summary about that process. So the number of cases. So in this case, the number of purchase order lines, the number of activities observed with a unique letter per activity. So those are the A to I activities, like purchase order entry, purchase order confirmation, receipt, payment, etc., with the counts as also average lead times. If we click through to the main analysis, then we see the real analysis process. And here is the analysis done as shown. And the nice thing about this solution is that you do not see a big jumble and process mining web, what you sometimes see, but actually a very graphical, clear process divided into swimming lanes per different department and responsible people, and yes, neatly organized, so to speak. And you also see all the process activities. So what I just said, the little letters with the unique letter per activity, and the same letters as you just saw in the welcome screen, you also see here, but also the lead times per activity. So between a certain activity, you see how much time there has been in between on average. Well, in the header, you also see a summary of some information like the total number of purchase orders, total number of purchase order lines with activities, average lead times, as well as the number of purchase order lines and purchase orders per month. Well, furthermore, you see the process nicely reflected here.
Ruud, I just have a question about the process, the display. It looks a little small to me. Do you need a big screen then? Or is there some other way you can fix that?
So what you can do is you can zoom in very easily. So you can scroll while you're viewing something. So on the detail where you want to zoom in, you can just very simply zoom in. Well, what you also see is that per different activity, you see that there are also all kinds of colors visible well. And that's already a very important piece of information because actually red means waste. So you actually want to have that as little as possible in your process. So is that a discount or a price that you have to adjust manually all the time? And you would love to get that automatically through a trade agreement. You also have orange steps. Well, that's actually needed waste. Well, those are necessary steps, but you actually want to have those as little as possible. And ultimately, green activities. Well, that's really where certain value addition is in your process. So analyze the added value in your process. And this is an example of a process through the so-called happy flow. But of course, we can take all kinds of other processes and variants. Well, we are going to see more of that too. We also have the ability to click through. So if we want to know more about a particular process step, so for example, about the quality activities that took place here, so the quality order that was created and then was approved or rejected, then at the bottom I click on more information and then I really zoom through on this particular activity. Well, you see in the top left corner, for example, the actual percentage of successful quality checks compared to the expected percentage of successful quality checks per month. So in there, you can also immediately see, okay, where are excesses, where is it going well, or where is it not so well. In the bottom right corner, for example, you can also see for which supplier it's the case. So I'll just put it on supplier because you can also apply all kinds of filters. So now I had indicated that I want to see that per employee, but I can also indicate per supplier. And that is, for example, for which supplier have we done the most quality controls, or where is there a piece of rejection, or where is there a piece of approved quality orders?
Yes, that's very nice that you can see that per supplier, but can you also go a little deeper, shall we say, into the analysis? So for example, per product purchased per supplier.
You can indicate that it is per supplier, but also per certain employee. So which employee was involved in certain quality rejections? Well, that can have all sorts of reasons. So this gives a nice bit of context around that information. And of course, what you also stated, you can also do it per article. There are certain articles that have a lot of rejections, and what can be the reason for that? Well, this was a piece of analysis of the process of the procurement process, and especially zooming in on the quality piece. You also have a very deep supplier analysis that's in there on the tab. Is that now, how well are my suppliers doing, or what experiences do I have with my suppliers? Do I spend a lot of time with certain suppliers or not in terms of lead time, but also in terms of commitment? And which suppliers do we spend a lot of time with internally, for example? Well, those are questions that you can answer on the basis of this analysis in area of a number of orders per supplier. You can see the total order value percentage first time ride. So the process from A to Z runs smoothly in one go without duplication or repetition of steps, which in practice is very common. And in the rightmost column, you You can also see, for example, the average number of steps I have to go through per supplier compared to the average everywhere. So yes, with which suppliers am I very busy or less busy? And with those red dots, you immediately have a nice overview. And at a glance, it is clear where the excesses are in a process.
Yes, that gives a nice view how you can make that analysis. But can you also draw a comparison between how things are going now and actually how they were last year or last quarter?
Yes, thank you for asking. There are often customers who ask us that same question, and what we have a history compare. So with history compare, you can actually, yes, exactly as your question is, a historical compare between certain periods. So a historical compare. So how are the processes compared to the same period or a month earlier or from a year earlier? So how are you doing this year compared to last year? Well, there you can see all kinds of graphs in certain tables, maybe not as much information for now, but yes, that historical comparison is certainly nicely woven into it in this solution. So in a nutshell, this is what Fellowmining can do for you.
Well, nice clear demo like this, Ruud. Just a little recap.
Sure. Well, Fellowmining is a fast, affordable, and simple process mining solution, and it's actually applicable in any industry. The solution can be used by your own people. They can be trained in a short time to analyze the output themselves and give advice on improvements and bottlenecks to be implemented. It is plug and play, so therefore quick to implement, so you are up and running in days rather than weeks, and is really very easy to use. It's applicable in any industry, but it can also be used by anyone for both large and small organizations. And so yes, Fellowmining helps you to oversee processes better by visualizing them as simply as possible. So you can more easily see where things are going wrong or where improvements can be made, and it gives tremendously fast results. And so by analyzing that output yourself and giving advice on improvements to be made, you can constantly keep working on improvements within your organization, within departments, etc. And yes, not mentioned before, but Fellowmining also offers a complete implementation method. So this enables customers like you to be up and running within days instead of weeks. Without our Fellowmining solution, that would take much longer. And yes, with this solution, it's super fast.
Ruud, thank you very much. Now, if people are excited, how do we get back in touch?
Yes, call us, email us. Please get in touch and we will help you further.
Yes, then we'll give you a nice personal demo.
Sure.
On location.
Maybe I'll stop by.
That's great. Very nice indeed. Thanks. And if you're interested, please get in touch. And until next time.